Hello, Laoshi Lawrence McElroy here with another pre-recorded video. This is the second in a three-part series doing a small drill into the 13 root energies of Tai Chi Chuan. In the first installment, we addressed the first four energies: ward off, roll back, press, and push. And remember, those first four energies are rooted in roundness, length and roundness. It's a long, rounded energy. Exemplified, or that is part of those first four. The second four, pluck, split, elbow stroke, and shoulder stroke, are rooted in shortness and usually linear. Now, in the first four, remember, we're responsible for finding the straight in the round. And in the second four, we're responsible for finding the round in the straight. So without further ado, now, as I talk today, I'm going to sort of break it into a couple of different sections and exemplify with some physical movement within the body. Remember, when we're talking about the 13 root energies, that it's not something that we really have to, seek to manifest in our body. Like, I don't have to figure out, how do I make pluck happen here? The 13 root energies give us a way to talk about what proper activation is in the body, what we feel, what we experience when we're moving with the proper martial intent and purpose. In other words, when we're swimming in air, the 13 root energies should be taking place throughout the body, in every part, in every moment of our Tai Chi movement. So again, I want to release you from the idea as you have to analyze yourself to figure out which energy is lacking. Look at the overall purpose and principle of the movement, and the 13 root energies will take care of themselves. So if I were to, in starting with pluck, if I were to do a physical demonstration of pluck, what I might choose is one of the postures. Repulse the monkey comes to mind because in the basic martial application includes a grab and a pull. Basic martial application of Water Tiger School's approach to repulse the monkey is it's a soft block. The punch is coming in this way. I intercept it without stopping it. Wrap the hand now, instead of in roll back where I just hook, I grab and pulling, adding to the energy of the punch with a pull down into the side, which translates into a strike across my body into their side. So that's sort of the macro. That's how some people will say, well, there's a posture that, ward off is, really is very much is ward off energy. But roll back, there's not really ward off energy in roll back. There is. And they might say repulse the monkey is a great example of what pluck energy is. And it is a great example of what pluck energy is. But pluck is also everywhere within the body. So you have the macro. You have sort of in between the macro and the micro. And that's body parts. So if I go to the hips for pluck, in Water Tiger School's Tai Chi, our four stance, we square off the hips. We're shoulder wide. Front toes are forward, knee over the ankles, safest, knee over the top of the foot's okay. Back foot's at the 45. And I square off the hips. So that means my hips and my shoulders are perpendicular to the direction I am facing. To manifest that left hip in a left four stance has to pull back. So there's plucking energy in that hip. But you can also feel plucking energy in smaller parts of the body. For as I pull back, it's not only the hip, I can feel certain muscles in that area activate. So it's smaller. I can feel as I am settling back into parting the wild horse's mane, that there's an aspect of pluck energy in the movement of the shoulder, not to be confused with shoulder-stroke energy. But I feel that little pull down and back that helps to settle the elbow and the hand in position, to manifest that fold of the wrist forward, there's a plucking energy coming back in the muscles of the hands and the hand and the arm. So there's pluck, or zhe. Again, my Chinese is awful, sorry. Split is a breaking energy. Pluck pulls across a vertical or horizontal line, and split breaks across a horizontal or a vertical line. In the macro, I can go to parting the wild horse's mane in the basic martial application because I'm blocking down here and breaking forward with my forearm and my hand to either throw somebody back or throw somebody over this leg if they're in close enough. I can take that bigger if I go from the 24 posture form into Water Tiger School's long form. There's an extension of parting the wild horse's mane in our long form. It's called diagonal flying. And you can really see that break in that extension, throwing that person off their route. So there's the macro. The in-between, I can go back to the hips. Because as the left hip in a left four stance has pluck energy and pulling back, to manifest that the hips stay the same height and they're parallel to the floor, parallel to the shoulders, and squaring off, the right hip is splitting forward. So again, in parting the wild horse's mane and the arm settling, you have that energy as split. But you also have how you have the top of the wrist splitting forward and back. The outer side of the wrist is splitting across and also plucking within that. And you can find it in other parts of the body as well. I don't mean to discount it, but I can find split in how, in pulling this hand down and back, there's a splitting energy in how the shoulder, again, not to be confused with Shoudler-Stroke energy, is moving forward and to the side as that hand settles into place. So that brings us to the last two of the 8 basic energies. I'm going to combine them a little bit together, and that is elbow stroke and shoulder stroke. Now, people tend to think in terms of elbow strike and shoulder strike. If I were to do a posture that exemplifies elbow stroke energy, I would do something with my elbow. If I were to exemplify something with something that resembled a posture, and our long form does have a shoulder stroke or a shoulder strike within it. Shoulder stroke would be a punch with an aspect of the shoulder. However, the way Water Tiger School looks at the 13 root energies, and these two in particular, elbow stroke energy is energy that is rooted in the movement of an elbow or any joint like an elbow. So if you think about an elbow, it's basically two-dimensional. I mean, I can drop it, I can raise it, I can round it around, but the elbow folds and extends. And that's really the two choices. I mean, we move like water, so there's some flexibility in that, but that's the basic energy of an elbow. Shoulder stroke energy is energy that is rooted in the way a shoulder moves. So it's more three-dimensional in its movement as it moves. So it has more choices in the way that joint moves. And the shoulder isn't the only thing that moves that way. The wrist has that three-dimensional movement, whereas the phalanges have two-dimensional movement. The hips have three-dimensional movement. The knees have two-dimensional movement. And of course, Water Tiger School looks at joints in the body beyond those big physical joints between sections of bone in the body. to where two muscles come together and how they are joined can end up in manifesting either shoulder stroke energy or elbow stroke energy. So within the context of, I can go to the hips again for the shoulder stroke energy, because in the way the hips are moving, you have that rounded movement that manifests, it helps to manifest both the pluck and the split energy in the way the movement is routed through that three-dimensional joint. Within parting the wild horse's mane, yes, the elbow is dropping down, rounding up and dropping down, but there is a fold within that elbow joint. As the shoulder, in talking about what's plucking and what's splitting in the shoulder, you also consider how that movement within that joint is settling into place in the way the movement is routed through the shoulders, the fingers, and how they're not really, I'm not folding as I move into the end of posture, parting the wild horse's mane. I'm expanding. So as the elbow folds, the fingers expand, still rounded, but expanding. So in a nutshell, there you have it. The first four energies, basic energies, are rooted in longness and roundness, but we're responsible for finding the straight and round. The second four energies are rooted in shortness and straightness, but we're responsible for finding the round and the straight. And by the way, we can take that another step deeper, and where the energy is rooted in longness, we also need to find its shortness. And where an energy is rooted in shortness, we also need to find its longness. So ward off, roll back, press, push, pluck, split, elbow stroke, shoulder stroke. We have Jie, Lai, Zhou, and Ka for the second four. Again, my Chinese is awful. I apologize. So those are the first 8 energies. The last 5 energies are rooted in direction. And when we pick up the next segment in this short series, examining the 13 root energies, that's where we will go, to directions. So thanks again for your time and attention. As always, if you have observations, questions, feel free to use the comments spaces below. Let's stay together apart. Wash your hands. Stop touching your face. Stay at home. Thanks.